The agenda this week learned how Ontario's court system is adapting to the pandemic, got some advice for parents on coping, and learned why Nobel Prize winning author Kazuo Ishiguro put hope at the heart of his new novel. The agenda's week in review begins talking to nurses about the front lines of this pandemic.
Much of this province is going to reopen now in a way that it has not over the past month, and I'm wondering how that's going to have an impact on nurses.
Well, I think that most nurses right now, we have such a nursing shortage at the hospitals, and certainly we're graduating a lot of students at Loyalist, and they're working 2 to 3 jobs, and it's getting very busy. And I do worry about COVID fatigue with people not getting time off to recuperate and to rejuvenate who they are.
What kind of time off are they getting in the midst of all this?
Again, I can't speak exactly for everybody, but I can say that most of my graduates are working at least 2 to 3 jobs, and which is nice when you're a brand new grad, so you can pay off your loans. But over time, that can lead to burnout. And probably everybody here on the panel will tell you that they are working at full tilt, 100% capacity as well.
Are you hearing that from your former graduates, that they are, even at their young age, feeling burned out already?
Some of them are. Yeah, some of them are. And I do worry about them leaving the profession because it's, like I said, we have such a nursing shortage. I don't know if people realize that. And I would like to see more funding for nurses to come along. I mean, even right now, we're running a vaccine clinic at our college, and we're using some of our students in that vaccine clinic. So there is a real need for nurses in this community.
Vicki, you're an ICU nurse on the front lines. What are you seeing from other nurses?
Yeah, I would have to agree. We're beyond burnt out at this time. There's a lot of fatigue that's going around. And I think a lot of people are feeling a little bit hopeless about what their nursing career looks like ahead of them at this point. I've been in nursing for 10 years at this point, and I never thought I would ever experience or have to work through a pandemic. So it has totally rocked a lot of us. I think emotionally we're all drained, and we're a little concerned about how we're going to sort of pick ourselves up and keep going. It's a big concern for a lot of us right now.
Vicki, have you thought about leaving the job?
To be honest, yeah, from time to time. But it keeps pulling me back because I love my nursing community. I love what I do. I've worked in the trauma ICU for almost 8.5 years, and it's something that I can say that it's been a calling for mine. It's something that there are days that you have those bright moments and you're able to help out a patient and everything connects and everything works out. And then COVID happens and you're not really sure what to do anymore, right? So it's definitely been on my mind, but nursing will always be my passion, no matter what.
And well, listen, you tell me, but I'm going to guess that at various times over the past year, you have been the last human being that somebody's loved one has seen as they have died from COVID-19. Has that happened?
Yeah, that's happened. It's a very emotional, visceral experience to be in. Not to say, like, we've had patients pass away in the ICU before, pre-COVID, and at least you were able to let families come in early and spend some last moments with them and actually detach from the situation. So you weren't a link in this person's memory of like seeing their loved one for the last time. Now with COVID, you are just linked into this whole entire memory, and you want to give privacy and respect to the patient that is passing and to their family, but you're not able to all the time, right? So sometimes you have to replace that family member and be the seat filler until somebody can come and see them. And it's a burden and an emotional toll that I don't think any of us knew that we were signing up for at the beginning of this pandemic.
Amy, how have you managed the past year?
Oh my goodness. Honestly, one of the things that I would speak to is I feel that I'm fortunate that I actually have my own little outlet, which is our podcast. And through talking to other people and bringing other people's experience to the forefront, I feel that's one of the ways that I've been able to cope, because it's been tough. And also with being with kind of working and overseeing kind of the emergency departments, this is the window where everyone comes in, and it's tough knowing that, my fellow colleagues are under this amount of stress, and sometimes even feeling like I can't even help them, or I can't support them the way that I'd like to. So it's been really challenging.
Janet, how are you and your colleagues balancing all of your professional obligations to continue to go to a workplace while at the same time, I presume, deal with kids, deal with aging parents, deal with everything you've also got to deal with on that so-called second shift?
Yeah, everybody's got something else outside of work. I have two small children that are school aged and can't stay home by themselves. They're in grade 2 and kindergarten. So I needed somebody to watch my children when Ontario shut down. And I was very fortunate. I had a cousin that was finishing up her first year university, and she jumped to the opportunity to help and took my kids in a second because my husband's also an essential worker.
Just as you're doing with your show, we've been able to conduct hearings to sometimes in person, but where conditions required it, remotely, and also through the media we've used. We've been able to keep the courts open, whether by audio in some cases or by video. We've made the courts accessible to the public at large. Even 2 weeks ago, we had a case in our court where we had more than 500 viewers watching the case. And as you probably saw last week, Chief Justice Morowitz's court dealt with an important public matter, a sentencing matter in which hundreds and hundreds of viewers watched. So overall, I think that was job one, and we're fairly comfortable with how we've dealt with it.
All right, let me pick up the story with Mr. Justice Morowitz. I know I've talked to people in the post-secondary world who have said that they managed to do essentially in a few weekends what it otherwise would have taken 10 years to do, namely move thousands of courses from the classroom to online. In your case, what did you discover about either how quickly or how difficult it was to pivot to include online in the way you do your work?
Well, thanks, Steve. It was a challenge. We'll put it that way. This is a profession, a legal profession, that is steeped in tradition. And we're talking a process where the courts were operating paper-based. And that has been the way in which it's been done for hundreds of years. Bankers' boxes would arrive daily for each judge. You'd lug the work home. You'd do it sometimes at home, sometimes at the office, but all of it was in paper, and all of a sudden you did not have that available to you. We had tremendous cooperation from the entire legal community, and I'll start with our judges. In our court, there's 335 across the province. To a person, they were all saying, what can I do to help? Bar associations, local bar associations, and specifically I'll give a shout out to the Ontario Bar Association and the Advocate Society for immediate assistance that they provided. The Ministry of the Attorney General, again, came to the realization that we have to do something instantly. So we started with rudimentary email to exchange files, and the bar was great in providing great assistance there. Then we gradually morphed into the Zoom for a Zoom platform for video hearings. We were doing most of them by teleconference. But the result has been, since then, we've now adopted Case Lines as a document sharing platform so that we now can get the documents to judges, to parties, and seamlessly right through to a hearing. And that is in process, but it's going to be finalized by another couple months right across the province. So we have been able, and I'm very happy to say and proud to say that we're closing in on 100,000 virtual hearings in our court since the pandemic started. It took a pandemic to jumpstart it because we've been asking for this technology for years. But now it has been delivered. We're not all the way there. We still have a long way to go. But we've survived and flourished and been able, as Chief Strathy said, keep the doors open and keep justice moving.
Well, that leads nicely to my next question for Madam Justice Maisonneuve, which is, and don't take this the wrong way, but our generation tend to be digital immigrants, I've heard the expression, as opposed to digital natives, which our kids and grandkids may be. So some of this stuff doesn't necessarily come as easily to us as it does to younger people. How much of an adjustment was it for you and your colleagues to do your work under these new circumstances?
So, Steve, you've hit the nail on the head. It was an incredible adjustment to move to what I would call a largely virtual environment, basically overnight, as described by my two colleagues, was enormous. And for the judicial officers, in the Ontario Court of Justice, we have 750 judicial officers. It varied. Some were much more comfortable with technologies than others, and we had to answer those needs and support them to move to a virtual world. But in all three courts, I think everybody stepped up and learned what they had to learn to be, as Chief Justice Moritz said, just make it happen for us to continue to serving the public. And of course, you have to understand, Steve, that the technology, as mentioned by my colleagues, was not available everywhere. To move to a virtual platform in a large urban center is much easier than in a satellite court in Northern Ontario, for example, where the technology is just not available as available as elsewhere. And I think you need to understand the scale of the operation of the three courts. In the Ontario Court of Justice, we preside in more than 200 locations in 7 judicial regions. In the Superior Court of Justice, they sit in 52 locations across 8 judicial regions. And of course, we have the Court of Appeal. In a year, on average, we receive approximately 240,000 new cases, and that's just criminal cases, and approximately 14,000 family matters per year. And of course, it does not include the Provincial Offences Act, which is close to 1 million at times. And then, of course, you've got the Superior Court. Both courts, we deal both with criminal and family, but the Superior Court also deals with civil matters. And then you have the Court of Appeal, who approximately receives 1,200 appeals per year. So you can imagine how wide and how vast it is.
Last October, Statistics Canada released some numbers ranking how concerned parents were with balancing school, childcare, and work. And the results show that 71% of parents surveyed were concerned about their child's opportunities to socialize with their friends. 64% were concerned about their children feeling lonely or isolated. 46% worried about the overall mental health of their child. And 40% fretted about schoolwork and academic success. And when you look at those numbers, is it notable that parents are more concerned about their children's social lives than they are about their schoolwork?
I think it makes total sense. I mean, I think we're all really craving that human contact, and especially for kids at particular developmental stages. Like, I feel so sorry for teenagers. I mean, this is a time in your life when you're supposed to be being social and having a private life, and the pandemic has forced you to be treated like a 5-year-old. So that must be exceptionally challenging for parents and for teens right now.
Tanya, I saw you nodding.
Absolutely. I think, Anne said it best too, in terms of the socialization, because they learn so much. When they're on a playground, they learn how to win, they learn how to lose, they learn how to deal with peer pressure. You can't learn those things if you're an only child, in a house with an adult who's on a computer all day. And what is this going to lead long-term wise, like how they're going to learn how to interact with their peers when they're in an office setting, if office settings are still a thing in 10, 15 years. So it does make sense. And I know that, teachers and boards are doing the best that they can to try and make sure that children don't fall behind. I know that some kids are flourishing in this virtual learning because they're not good in classroom settings, whereas other kids, now that the classroom sizes are smaller, they're getting a little bit more attention. So we don't have to necessarily worry as much academically as we do for the other extras.
Tanya, you mentioned that you are a single parent. How are you how are you managing to be productive while doing everything else that you've had to deal with your son?
Define productive. there's days where I just give myself the grace to say, I don't have it. I might follow up with people saying, you know what, you're going to get this by end of week. So I can give myself an extra few days. I try to use calendar schedule tools so I can know what my schedule is like. I make sure that times are blocked off for drop off and pickup times from school. I try my best, but it's really, really difficult because sometimes it's just, getting out of bed and putting food in your mouth for breakfast is the only thing I can accomplish. And some days that has to be okay.
And I've also been hearing, even for me personally, my days are very long. And Ed, we've heard how in two-parent cisgender relationships, women are still shouldering most of the work. Why do you think that is?
I think one of the reasons is a lot of fathers don't know where to start. And a lot of things too that they haven't been taught. And also too, a lot of fathers haven't had that experience when they were raised by their fathers. So a lot of times they've been so, unfortunately, focused on providing, especially providing through the workplace, that they haven't thought about there is another side of life. So they think about the traditional this, and this. Now with the pandemic, sometimes they feel like they're a father out in the middle of the sea and they don't know what to do. The kids are coming to saying, daddy this, daddy that. And sometimes, unfortunately, the father hasn't paid a lot of attention to what's going on with their child or children in school, in everyday life. So it's not a perfect situation for anybody. But as I said, and we'll get to later, more dads are getting engaged now. So that's a good side of the pandemic.
And Anne, Tanya mentioned the screen time. We've all, I think from the time that I have my kids, my eldest is 10, limit screen time, but now screen time, learning, their friends, it's a connection to the outside world. How can parents balance screen time with physical activity? If you can get outside.
Yeah, exactly. I think lose a little bit of the guilt around that, because I've had so many parents say to me, for years we've been hearing all this stuff about, limit the screen time in this way. And I think the wisest thing I've heard is to look at how the screen is being used, as opposed to just narrowly counting, setting like a stopwatch or something. Think about, like, are they connecting with family across the miles, or is this their friend hangout, as opposed to just treating scrolling through Instagram and feeling badly because your post hasn't been liked as the equivalent of playing a card game remotely with your grandparents.
We'd like to think that there is something so utterly unique about us that there's only one of us in the entire universe and couldn't possibly be replicated. You are positing with us the notion that we maybe ought not to be that cocky about our uniqueness. Were you as uncomfortable writing this as I was reading it?
Yes. I mean, and I suppose, I try to address that, or at least Clara tries to address it, in the final passages of the book. But it is a notion that I feel is creeping up on us. I think for centuries and centuries, we human beings, we've, even long after many of us have stopped believing in God in the old-fashioned way, or a relationship between our soul and God in the classic kind of religious sense. Long after we've kind of stopped believing that in any literal way, we have held on to this idea that there is some kind of a soul or something unique, some invisible ghost, that occupies our bodies. And it's because of that it makes sense when I say something like, I love my wife, or I love my daughter. There's something actually unique about my wife and my daughter that makes love in that human context something meaningful. Now, because we live in a world where big data, algorithms, and artificial intelligence is becoming more and more every day. And every time we go shopping online, or we try and download a movie or something, we get people predicting what we want to see next week, and what we might want to shop for next week. I mean, possibly I'm saying that we might be getting to a point where we start to actually question a lot of these assumptions on which we've organized family life, and I have to say, in the larger sense, our societies around the notion that the individual is a sacrosanct unit upon which we have to build all our political systems. We might start to be tempted to think, actually, we're not that complex or unique. We're a bunch of algorithms. And this is some sort of superstition from the past that we're hanging on to. So that's the idea that's being interrogated, I guess, by the characters in this book, not in an intellectual way, but in an emotional way, because we have a situation in this family where the daughter is pretty sick, and I guess the mother is trying to preempt, an utter sense of loss and bereavement, and is wondering if this is some way out of it.
One of the really fascinating choices you made in writing this book, and obviously, I mean, you're a man in your 60s, so I'm not saying that every book you write has to be narrated by a man in his 60s, but you are narrating this book as an artificial intelligence young girl. And I wonder how tricky that is for you, since that's not who you are.
But I've never narrated from people who are like me. When I was a young writer, my first novel I wrote in my 20s. The novel that was mentioned in the introduction, The Remains of the Day, I wrote in my early 30s. The narrators were always elderly people looking back on their lives. I've always found it easier to write from the perspective of characters who are not like me. And I've always been drawn to writing from the point of view of outsiders, people who are slightly outside the society, or in this case, outside of the human race. Because it provides these kind of tremendous focusing opportunities. If you've got somebody strange like Clara, she's almost like an alien. It's very natural for her to ask these questions, which other contexts might seem rather over philosophical or even pretentious. It's very natural for this naive, sweet machine type girl to ask questions like, why do human beings have loneliness? Are they fundamentally lonely?
That's just some of what we covered this week on The Agenda. For more, including the full conversations, you can visit our website, tvo.org, our YouTube channel at youtube.com/theagenda, or our Twitter feed, twitter.com/theagenda.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.